Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the heart of the Napa Valley. This is Sonoma Raceway, playing host to the 15th race of the season for the MSRA Reaper Speedlab Truck Series, the second road course stop on the schedule. I'm Seth Cole, being joined here by Kyle Lawrence. And Kyle, after we ended up seeing the events of last week at Gateway, another three-time winner added to the record books in the form of Christopher Hill. Now it seems like here today, the ball is back in the court of one Boyd Hogan, who, of course, won earlier on this year at Coda. Question is, though, is anybody going to be able to challenge him here today?
It's going to be an interesting race for sure, Seth. 40 laps around Sonoma Raceway here today. You have Boyd Hogan dominating practice, and currently it looks like he's going to get the pole just over Will Cooley. Will Cooley put down a pretty decent lap out there. We'll have to see if anybody's able to challenge Boyd Hogan, but anything could happen in turn one on lap one at a road course, Seth.
Certainly can, and Sonoma, one of those challenging road courses, mostly for the fact that you'll see here today a lot of elevation changes. First half of the racetrack, they're driving uphill. Second half of the racetrack, downhill, high speeds before you eventually get to that final paperclip-like turn, the final turn, turn 11. That could be a huge difference maker into who's going to take the checkered flag here today or not. And of course, as well, road courses very widely known for local yellows, usually not the full course cautions. So if you're a driver here today, you can ill afford to put a wheel wrong early on in the race, but especially late in the race because you're not going to have any time to recover. So today it's going to be, I think, more so driver versus racetrack than it is driver versus driver.
A track like Sonoma or really any road course, it's really more about racing the track than your competitors. Just trying to stay on track and running a good line, running decent laps, and taking care of those tires throughout the run is going to be the key to getting a decent finish at a track like Sonoma, where it's going to be full of mistakes. You're going to see drivers making mistakes all race long.
Well, you talked about Boyd Hogan capturing the pole position. He's going to be alongside of Will Cooley for the first row. Tyler Bentley, part-time driver, going to be rolling off on the inside of row number 2 with TJ Crampton. And then another driver, kind of a one-off here this week, James Shainwolf in the 72 car. I mean, we're seeing a couple of guys here that I can only maybe assume, since we're seeing them make their debuts here this season today, maybe some road course aces. So, might want to look in the direction of Bentley and Shainwolf as some drivers that might fit the bill of competition for that 96.
Yeah, Shane Wolf raced a couple of races ago in that 72 machine, looked really strong and put on a good qualifying effort, qualifying up here in the top 5, Bentley up here in the top 5 as well. So definitely two drivers to watch out for. But don't count out TJ Crampton in the 61 machine. He's been strong all season long, has been near the top of the point since the beginning of the season.
It's another guy I would keep an eye on too, although he is starting kind of deep in the field. Showed you that only 8 drivers took time. Rolling off from 9th is Andrew Navarro. Navarro started on the pole for the Circuit of the Americas race, led the first 2 laps, and then ran into trouble, ended up finishing 19th. But obviously, he showed that he's got speed at the left and right hand turning road courses. He's going to be alongside of Patrick Stein to complete the top 10. Tanner Love last week made his way up into the top 10 in points with a great run. He's going to be alongside of Braxton DeWeese in row 6. Daniel Simmons and Robert Anderson, they're going to be back in row 7. And rounding out the field, Richard Malugani, who I don't know how many circuits he turned in personal practice, but I do know that he got in here just near the end of qualifying, so he turned no laps in practice here at the session just prior to these drivers getting ready to take the green flag. So we'll see how that pans out for the driver of the 86.
You were talking about Andrew Navarro, and that's an interesting point there, Seth. He has a lot of speed on these road courses, and we do have that stage caution at lap 12. So if you can get up there in 2nd or 3rd place before lap 12 and get a caution flag and catch back up to Hogan, that could be really huge. That could be a really big battle that we talk about through the rest of the race.
Definitely could. It's going to be 40 laps of racing for these drivers here today at Sonoma. As mentioned, it's the second road course stop of the season for these guys. So Circuit of the America was the first, and it was a dominating performance by Boyd Hogan. He picked up the stage victory, picked up the race victory, led 22 of the 35 laps there. We'll see if he can put on a clinic here today as he and Will Cooley come down the straightaway. They'll make a Slight left-hand turn to the start-finish line. Flagman has the green flag in hand, and we are underway here today in wine country.
Green flag here at Sonoma Raceway. Hogan has the lead going into turn 1 and 2.
Clear coolly, they'll go single file back through 3rd, 4th, 5th. Looks like around 7th is where they'll remain double file. It's around Andrew Navarro and Matt Dyer. They get that situated out by the time they get into 3 and 4, heading down here to 4A. A big talking point about this week. A lot of people wondering if they were going to run with the boot on the infield or if they were going to run here with the chute going from 4A down to 7. Well, you can see right here, that straightaway down to turn 7 is what they're utilizing. So not nearly as many corners to have to kind of maneuver your way around here today for these drivers.
Now here they are coming through the S's. Probably one of the coolest parts of any road course I've ever raced on. You carry so much speed through these S's downhill up until you get to the hairpin down here.
That's completely different from the S's at Watkins Glen, but very similar in the fact that if you mess up your entry to one of the S's, you've got a lot of problems trying to hit the rest of the S's there. So you see the big brake lockup by TJ Crampton down into turn 11. That's going to be a very critical portion of this racetrack for drivers. A lot of drivers like to utilize that area as a passing zone, but there's not a whole lot of room to be able to maneuver there either. So you got to make sure you don't make a mistake.
Yeah, that turn 11, that hairpin there, that final turn. A lot of drivers have different braking points going into that corner. It's just usually that corner comes up with a lot of calamity, and we'll have to see throughout the race if we see incidents out there between multiple drivers, because I've seen it here before.
Watching the battle for 6th, a little loose there, trying to get that car woed down. The 42 of Andrew Navarro trying to get around Wesley Jeanette. Jeanette trying to make that rear bumper as wide as possible, and they're actually going to catch up here to James Shainwolf, so that could be a 3-way battle for the 5th position, and they're going to go double wide through the S's. Jeanette going to wisely back out of that, give the spot to Andrew Navarro. Now you will notice up on the top of your screen, this is round 1 of the Road Warrior Challenge presented by Shorber Racing Graphics. Now what this is, the next 3 broadcasted races for this series here on the Flatout Racing Network will be at road courses. Sonoma here today, Road America in a couple of weeks, and then Mid-Ohio the following week. Shorber Racing Graphics stepping up here, giving the opportunity for drivers to get some monetary prizes based on their performance in the upcoming 3 road courses. So there's prizes out to the podium finishers, fastest lap gets some monetary value as well, and then whoever ends up accumulating the most points in this race, Road America and Mid-Ohio, going to get a $50 grand prize. So a little bit extra on the line for these guys here in the upcoming month or so.
I really like what they're putting on with this Road Warrior set. It's really going to make for maybe some more aggressive racing out there, and definitely going to put on a little more of a show, and a lot more interest in these road courses.
TJ Crampton for a moment had a challenge from Tyler Bentley for the 3rd position, and now we look at the pass for 6th. Wesley Jeanette getting around James Shainwolf, Matt Dyer closing in on this mix. A lot of notable names not in the field here today. A couple of those would include Christopher Hill, last week's winner. Christopher Pfeffer is not in the field. He was the runner-up finisher back at the Circuit of the Americas, so we also don't have Jamie Knopf in the field. Kyle Myers, who last week with a great run, just made his way for the first time this season inside the top 10 in the point standings. So a lot of big names not in the field. One thing that we focus on as we start to get down this home stretch towards the playoffs is that cut line. Really kind of looks like today, despite the fact we don't have a lot of those big names in the field today at Sonoma, I don't think a lot's going to change with drivers falling out or moving into the top 10. Really for the drivers outside of that cut line, the highest starting that is in the field here today, Richard Mulligani, was 15th in points coming into this race, and he was about 70 some odd points behind the cut line. So I don't think that the top 10 that came into this race in the point stands above that cut line is going to change here today. The thing that is going to change, kind of surprises me though here, Kyle, is the fact that Christopher Hill last week got his third win of the season. It tied him for most wins on the year with Boyd Hogan, but more importantly, it gave him the points lead. 7 points over Boyd Hogan coming to this race. With him not making the start, and Boyd Hogan certainly one of the favorites to possibly win here today, looks like that points lead's going to exchange hands again.
It's definitely very possible. Seth Hogan very strong at these road courses and has had a strong start here, already up 3 seconds on Will Cooley right now in the second position. So we could definitely see a change at the points lead. But Christopher Hill running in 10th, so he has positions to gain. He has position and points to gain on the racetrack. As Hogan, he's already gonna, if he stays where he is, he's gonna get those max points already. Hill can get up there to the top 5 and possibly keep himself in the points lead. He'll definitely be very close.
Looking back from the 55 of Tyler Bentley, that's Andrew Navarro bearing down on him. Navarro, remember, started this race from the 9th position, did not lay down a lap time in qualifying, and showing that this truck is still very strong despite him not having the optimal track position. The only problem right now for Andrew Navarro is the fact that he's got roughly about 8.5 seconds between himself and Boyd Hogan, but we have to bear in mind, we do have that stage caution that's going to come out at the completion of lap 12, so Navarro's just trying to pick up as many positions as he can to when we eventually get that yellow flag.
I've been watching the lap time so far at the beginning portion of the race. Hogan's been putting on the best lap times, but at times Navarro was running around the same lap times as Hogan, keeping on pace with Hogan. So if he can get up there, like I said right before we went green, if he can get up there to second or third here before the stage break, the stage caution, the number 42 of Navarro, that could be huge. We could have a big battle for the race lead on the upcoming restart if that happens.
Riding on board with Andrew Navarro, just ahead Tyler Bentley, and not too far ahead, you can see there as well the 61 of TJ Crampton's. That's a couple of positions that quite possibly Andrew Navarro could pick up before we get to the conclusion of this first stage. We just had an exchange for, I believe that was the 9th position. Christopher Hill getting around Robert Shin. Shin now under fire from Braxton DeWeese, who last couple of weeks, he's really been stepping it up in terms of his finishes. He's now up 7th in the point standings, had a great top 5 run last week at Gateway.
Yeah, Braxton DeWeese has really improved throughout the season, and one thing I just like about him is that he, no matter what goes on in the race, he keeps on going. A lot of drivers end up, when they have damage or has something go wrong, they exit the race. He continues and tries to get the best finish he can.
Trouble for Robert Shin there through the S's. Back end comes around on him, noses it a little bit into those tire barriers. Little off-road work there as he'll now bring it onto the racing surface. He was battling for 10th. He's going to merge back onto the racetrack around the 14th position.
And those S's bite you, Seth. We were talking about that a little while ago. The S's are just such a difficult part of the racetrack. So much speeding going left to right, left to right. It's a very difficult portion of the racetrack.
But again, as long as you don't get damage from an incident, better to have a problem now, better to have a spin, lose track position now than later on in the race. Because you know that stage caution's coming up. Everybody's going to be bunched back up together. But you end up having an issue with 20 laps to go, 15 laps to go, 10 laps to go. It's just less and less laps you have to be able to mount a charge to recover and regain back even just a portion of those spots that you lose. So these drivers still have to be careful here today. They don't tear up their equipment. As Andrew Navarro, that thing is slipping and sliding around these turns. That last time through 4A was in a 4-wheel slide trying to reel in Tyler Bentley for the 4th position. So he's getting just about everything and then some out of that Toyota Tundra.
Yeah, I've been watching this Bentley versus Navarro situation here. It seems like Navarro has a little more speed, but Bentley has more speed at certain portions of the racetrack and is able to extend that gap. But then when Navarro's quicker on the racetrack, it's just so difficult to complete that pass. He might even be getting a little frustrated behind the wheel right now.
Yeah, the tough thing here at a track like Sonoma, there's only really 2, maybe 3 particular places that Bentley goes into a bit of a slide there out of turn 2, but there's only a few places that are really optimal places to be able to pass without putting yourself in a sticky situation. And Andrew Navarro trying to find one of those spots. There you see him pressuring Bentley into 4A, trying to get him to overdrive it. He almost did. Almost had a handshake with that tire barrier, but now gives way to Andrew Navarro. Says, all right, I've had enough of this. You want the spot? Go ahead and take it.
Navarro now sets his sights on third place TJ Crampton. Can he drive up to him, or did he maybe use up his tires a little bit those couple of laps behind Bentley?
Christopher Hill marching his way to the front. He just made a couple of passes right there, I believe, in 7. Getting around James Shane Wolf and Matt Dyer.
Ooh, Dyer off track.
Whoa!
Dyer clipped the curb and went off the track in the number 2 machine. He's going to take the very long way around.
That access road there through the S's. He is going to lose time. He didn't gain any positions or any time, so there shouldn't be any time penalty for him. That theoretically is a time penalty in some way. Christopher Hill, I mean, you look at him when we ran the first race back at Circuit of the Americas, and he brought up the tail end of the field. Finished 25th position, so certainly looking for some road course redemption, or at least to finish better than he did back at Circuit of the Americas.
Yeah, Christopher Hill has been strong all season, but a very poor performance at Circuit of the Americas earlier on in the season. Maybe like you said, looking for some redemption here today at Sonoma Raceway, already up to the 7th position. And he's trying to maybe get up to the number 74. I don't know if he can get up to Jennett before we get that stage break.
There's a couple of guys we should keep our eyes on here today that had good runs back at COTA. Obviously, Boyd Hogan with the victory. TJ Crampton finished 4th. Braxton DeWeese had a top 5 run in 5th. And maybe a couple of guys a little under the radar that we should keep an eye on in the closing stages of this race. Robert Anderson finished 6th, and Matt Dyer finished in 7th. Right now, Dyer is up in the 9th spot. Robert Anderson is running shotgun in the field back in 16th. But again, lock and change between now and the end of the race with possible adjustments under that stage yellow. And even then, I'm not necessarily certain when we go back green in the second and final stage if these guys will have made their last trip to pit road. They may have to make at least one more trip to pit road under green flag conditions before we get this checkered flag.
So we have a battle on for the 3rd position here. Andrew Navarro putting the pressure on TJ Crampton all over his bumper before we got over here to 4A. Now coming down the chute, right behind the number 61 machine.
Navarro, 2-time winner. TJ Crampton winning the season opener at Daytona. Both drivers very well situated in the point standings right now in terms of making their way into the playoffs. Crampton 6th in the overall standings. Navarro currently in 8th. Navarro started this race, let's not forget, from the 9th position. And he has picked up 5 spots since the start in these 10 laps. So imagine what he's going to be able to do if he's got only 3 trucks ahead of him on the upcoming restart. A little bit of smoke I just saw there lingering into turn 11. That doesn't necessarily indicate that there was a problem there. Probably a lot of brake lockup, front brake bias going into that very sharp right-hander.
42, Navarro lost a little bit of time through there, and he's going to have to try to drive back up. But this is where he's so quick, the number 42. These first couple of corners, this first portion of the racetrack, he's just so fast. I don't think I've seen any driver go faster through this portion of the racetrack.
You can see that thing is a little bit loose in the rear end. You can see when he goes over these lefts and rights, a little bit of counter steer there, trying to settle the back end of the truck, get it point, get the nose point in the right direction for optimal straightaway speed. Pulls right up to the back bumper of Crampton heading in through the S's, backs off by about a half a truck length, and we'll look to mount a charge again here. Look at this, right up again on the back bumper. More so, I think, trying to force Crampton to make a mistake and open up the door than actually try and dive it in there for a pass. So theoretically, Andrew Navarro kind of hitting the intimidate button on the 61.
We did the same thing with Bentley just a few laps ago in the number 55 machine, shown that he had more speed and just never touched him, but let him know that he was there and he wanted to get by.
Have to remember, too, points get paid out. The top 10 finishers in these stages. Another spot picked up by Christopher Hill there. Well, not just so fast. Wesley Jeanette going to battle back there on the inside off of turn 11, but I think he'll have to give way up the hill to turn 1. So Christopher Hill going to move to 6th. Jeanette falls back to 7th. Right now, Braxton DeWeese would be in the final spot to receive stage points in 10th place, and he's got about 2.5 seconds back to Daniel Simmons. As this time around, we should see the caution. There it is. There is the stage yellow. And so Hogan, Cooley, Crampton, Navarro, Bentley, that's going to be the top 5. Hill, Jeanette, Shane Wolf, Dyer, and DeWeese are going to get the stage points here in the first stage at Sonoma. And Boyd Hogan now 2 for 2 in picking up stage victories this season at road courses.
I was keeping an eye on those lap times right before we got that stage caution right there. And the 3 drivers that consistently were the quickest on the track were Hogan, Navarro, and Hill. And Cooley was right there up with them, but just showed too much inconsistency in the first portion of the race.
Looks like Richard Malugani lost a lap here under this 12-lap run to the end of the first stage, so he would get the free pass under this yellow. All 16 drivers will be back on the lead lap when we eventually go back green, so no doubt that we're probably going to see everybody coming down pit road, 4 tires, packet full of fuel, but I think the deciding factor here on this pit stop especially is going to be the adjustments that are made on these trucks. Obviously, a few of these guys probably very happy with how their trucks feel and may not even touch them in terms of adjustments. Others might throw the kitchen sink at their trucks.
We'll have to see what drivers make what adjustments here on pit road to change up their truck, maybe make it a little looser, a little tighter. Maybe a driver like Navarro, you were mentioning how loose he was getting through some of these turns. Maybe tighten up his truck a little bit. We'll have to see.
Boyd Hogan trying to catch up to the pace truck. There it is. Just now making its way through the S's. The other 15 drivers will line up behind him, and pit road will be open this time for these drivers. In terms of looking at the biggest movers of this race, Andrew Navarro obviously would be at the top of that, up 5 spots from 9th to 4th in these 12 laps. The driver that lost the most spots, we saw him have a moment over in the S's, that was Robert Shin, qualified 7th and finished this first stage back in 13th. Pit road open. Everybody coming down pit lane, and we'll see if maybe that 42 truck, if maybe his team can gain him a couple spots on pit road as well. He gained quite a bit out on the racetrack on his own. Maybe pick up another spot or 2, get him even closer to Cooley and Hogan.
I'm even curious if we'll maybe see some sort of strategy here on pit road. Not too much age on these tires. I don't think we'll see any 2-tire strategies, but you never know. Track position is huge at a track like this.
Everybody up on the right sides. We'll see if the crews go around to the lefts. At least for the leaders, they're going to. Navarro, nice launch there off pit road, and looks like he's going to come out in 3rd. Will Cooley.
Look, Cooley, yeah.
He got the battle won off of pit road.
Great race off pit road. Cooley able to snag a spot. Navarro able to snag a spot, and Crampton and Hogan both go down 1. This is going to make it real. This is going to be a real interesting restarter set. This is going to be an interesting first couple of corners because Cooley was a little bit slower than Hogan on that first portion of the run. We'll see if he can hang on to the lead here for the first couple of laps at least, or if Hogan's able to take it away, and how aggressive does he get to get back into the race lead with Navarro right behind him.
Yeah, there wasn't much in it in terms of the amount of time spent on pit road between the 00 and the 96. Both had the same amount of time spent on pit road for their pit box, but a second advantage to Will Cooley, and I almost wonder if maybe that might have been just the pit stalls they were in. The 00 would have been in pit stall number 2. Boyd Hogan would have been obviously in the number 1 pit stall as the pole sitter, and I wonder if that might have given Will Cooley just a slightly better launch, not spending as much time spinning those rear tires, and got him to the commitment line first.
It's very possible in the 00 you had a little bit of a better drive off of pit road, and it's also really just how you come into your pit box as well, because this is a very long pit road as well. How much speed do you have on pit road on the way down as well?
Obviously with the field spread out, couple of drivers must have had some moments on the racetrack that unfortunately we were not able to cover on our live feed. But it would appear that Robert Anderson, he spent a little bit extra time in his stall getting some damage repaired. That would probably account for the fact that he was so deep in the field on that run. Also, Tanner Love spent over a minute of repairs in his stall there, and so he's going to be restarting back in the 15th position. So not only are drivers probably glad they were to come down pit road, get some fresh tires and make some adjustments, but for maybe a good 3, 4, 5 drivers, an opportunity to come down and repair a little bit of damage that they sustained on that first stage.
A couple of damaged race trucks there after that first stage, and very good for them, able to get some of those repairs done, and they're going to be able to catch back up to the pack before we go green flag racing here momentarily here at Sonoma on lap number 15 of 40.
Ready for stage 2. If you're just joining us, I want to remind everybody that this is the first round of the Road Warrior Challenge, sponsored by Sonoma Racing Graphics, here today, June 29th at Road America, and then the following week at Mid-Ohio. Those 3 races, it's going to come down to who accumulates the most points that will take home the $50 grand prize as the Road Warrior Challenge champion. Right now, Boyd Hogan looking like the favorite. He has led the first 14 laps of this race, but these pit stops have brought some new players up into his zip code. Will Cooley's going to be the one to bring us back to green. Hogan in second. Then Andrew Navarro, TJ Crampton, and Christopher Hill. That's the top 5 as we are getting ready to go back under the green flag. Potentially the last time we'll see the flagman need to do anything until the white flag waves.
Hogan spun the tires on the restart there, Seth. He's going to lose a spot to Navarro, and now he has Crampton right behind him, and Hill not too far behind either. Hill in the top 5 for the first time after starting outside the top 10. And Navarro's already trying to maybe go for the lead on Cooley. He's right on his bumper here.
First time all day that Boyd Hogan looks out the windshield and sees the back bumper of another truck as he'll now peel out of line. Look, drivers right on Navarro going into turn 7. Nothing doing there. Navarro continues to put the pressure on Will Cooley for the race lead. Let's see if it works here into the 7th corner. Saw a lot of brake lock up there on the 42, especially on that left front, but he's going to keep Hogan at bay and keep Will Cooley within striking distance down through the S's.
Hogan's right there on Navarro coming out of the S's here. Number 96, and the 42 lost a decent amount of time to Cooley through the S's there. Cooley able to get around a half-second advantage through the S's.
Again, outside of the initial start of this race, this is probably going to be the closest these drivers will be to each other the rest of the way, unless we end up having something that brings out a full course yellow. Hogan going to complete the pass on Navarro. So the one thing you want to make sure that you don't do here is make a mistake, because very unlikely that a full course yellow is going to come out and save your chances of being able to get back in the hunt for a checkered flag. So Navarro gives way to Hogan. Hogan now will try and hunt down Will Cooley. Behind Navarro, though, you got TJ Crampton. He's got his hands full with Christopher Hill for the 4th spot.
Christopher Hill is showing a lot of speed here early. Started 16th, already up to 5th, trying to take away 4th. A lot of speed in that number 99 machine. Putting the pressure on Crampton, seeing if he can maybe get this pass before we get into the S's. Looks like he won't be able to, but he's right there on the 61.
Best seat in the house to watch this battle is 6th place running Tyler Bentley. So throw a blanket over 4th, 5th, and 6th position down through the S's. Woo! Both Hill and Crampton getting a little loose there in that right-hander. They almost went double wide, but Hill thought better. It backs out and might actually try and set up the pass here into turn 11. Here he comes.
Here comes Hill into the hairpin. He's going to be able to clear the 61 possibly out of the hairpin. Crampton gives way, and here comes Bentley. Bentley's going to try to get past Crampton. Crampton's going to fight back.
Crampton trying to give way to Christopher Hill. Really overdrove turn 11, left the door open. Bentley tried to capitalize but could not do it. Credit to TJ Crampton battling back there on what would have been considered the outside of that right-hander. He's going to hang on to the spot. Now Bentley's going to go around. Bentley going to lose it from the 6th position. He and Crampton almost both lost it at the same time, but Crampton was able to keep his thing underneath him. Not so lucky for the 55, and now he's going to drop way outside the top 10 as a result.
Bentley was having a really good run, and you were saying it just moments ago, Seth. We're most likely not going to get a full course caution for the remainder of this race. So it's going to be really difficult for him to get back up to the top 5 after that, even the top 10.
Battle for the lead heating up. It was about 4 truck lengths last time by. It is closed down to less than 1 exiting out of the S's. Little loose there for Boyd Hogan, entering down towards turn 11, and it's going to be interesting to see just how much of a fight Will Cooley is going to try and put up. Remember, Will Cooley is a part-time driver. He's not battling for points, he's not battling for the championship, but he is certainly battling in that Road Warrior Challenge. So no doubt in my mind, he's going to make it as tough as he can for Boyd Hogan to try and get around him.
A 00 out there just trophy hunting. Will Cooley looking to get the win here at Sonoma Raceway in wine country. Can he hold off Hogan here? How hard does he fight? You were saying that, Seth. Can he fight off Hogan? Navarro right there as well. He's closing in on both these drivers, and Hill closing in on all 3 of them. He actually ran the fastest lap that last time by. So this is going to get really interesting. The front 4.
Christopher Hill, that lap time you're talking about, second fastest lap time of the day, only to Boyd Hogan. As a matter of fact, only 4 drivers have run a fast lap in the 115s, and they're your top 4 right now. Cooley, Hogan, Navarro, and Hill, all separated by less than 2 seconds.
Cooley with a good, Cooley has a lot of speed through the S's. I've noticed that. He has a lot of speed through the S's. Gets a little bit of a gap on Hogan, and that's a really good place to get a gap on a driver, because the hairpin is one of the key places to pass on the racetrack here at Sonoma Raceway, and that 00 able to put all that distance before he gets there.
Boy, they were nose to tail, all 3 through turn 11. Now about maybe 3 truck lengths separating them. Then the accordion back up there to the uphill right-hander of turn 1. They'll continue this battle through 2 and 3. Hogan shows the nose to driver's right just a little bit here, heading down to turn 4. Will Cooley left the door open, but Hogan will not take the bait just yet. Navarro right there in case the 2 of them make a mistake. Now, I mentioned that under that stage yellow, Richard Malugani was the only truck 1 lap down and got the lucky dog. He has since lost that lap again. He did not come to pit road, however, so I'm assuming maybe some possible network connection problems for him or something, losing him that lap, but obviously not exactly the run that Malugani was hoping to have here today. He will close up maybe a little bit on the playoff cutoff line, but not much, especially with the fact that a couple of the guys just down there above the cut line are having decent outings here today, and I think Navarro might have just murdered one of those commitment cones there heading towards pit road, so gonna have to have a memorial service after this race for that one.
They get a wider entry into that hairpin. I saw it when I was doing an official race actually just last night here at Sonoma Raceway, and a lot of drivers take that really wide entry and actually knock down those cones on pit entry right there. And here comes Hogan. He's gonna send it here on the 00. Cooley's going to fight back on the right side. They're going to be neck and neck coming right into here, into the chute area.
Advantage might be to the 96 here if he can run it wide enough. He looks to clear. Not quite clear yet. They'll still be side by side here down into turn 7. Hogan's going to get back to the throttle sooner, and he will clear for the top position. Nice setup there. Took a while from turn 2 all the way over to turn 7, but he makes the pass complete. Does it cleanly, and the 96 is back out in front.
Boyd Hogan retakes the lead. Will Cooley falls back to second, and look at Christopher Hill. He's entered the conversation. He's finally caught up to this front 3 in that 4th position.
On board with the 99, looking ahead at the top 3, the current podium. Off a little loose there. You can certainly tell how a truck is handling. We look inside the cockpit here at what the driver is looking at from the steering wheel, that red tape showing the centering of the steering column, and when you see that little jerk right there back to the opposite direction of where the turn that the truck is taking, can definitely tell that that truck is loose, dealing with a lot of wheel spin here. It may be sunset. You can see the sun starting to kind of hide behind the peaks of the Napa Valley area, but we are on the West Coast in California, so no doubt about it. The track is hot, the track is slick, and these drivers are having all they can do to keep these trucks planted underneath them.
You know, these drivers out here are pushing their trucks to their limits, and Cooley is right in front of Navarro. Navarro's been putting the pressure on the last couple of corners in that 42 machine, looking to try to get by, but there's just no place to pass at the moment. Does he maybe attempt the pass in the hairpin this time?
I was noticing back during the first stage, there is a little bit of damage on the left front of Andrew Navarro's truck, and I thought he was going to add to it there. He got awfully close to moving Will Cooley out of the way in turn 11, but Cooley overdrove it. Navarro will move on by. Now Christopher Hill looks to take advantage for the third spot.
Christopher Hill get past the 00 here and keep up with the 42. Let's see if the 99 maybe tries to make the same pass his teammate did in this area right here on the racetrack right before the chute. Not going to make it there.
See if he waits over towards the second half of the racetrack. We've seen Christopher Hill make a lot of his passes back in the first stage over here in turn 7 and then over in turn 11, so he seems to like the downhill sections a little bit better. Got close to the back bumper of the SimC Chevy Silverado, but now backs off and will try and set up maybe down here into 9, 10, and maybe over into turn 11. Saw Tyler Bentley go around for a spin in the early portion of the second stage, fell back to 13th. Nice recovery for him so far. Now up to the 9th spot. He just got around Wesley Jeanette for that position a couple of minutes ago, and now up inside the top 10, has Matt Dyer within his sights, so I don't know if he'll necessarily get back up to around the 5th, 6th position where he was battling before he had his problems, but the lap times are still looking pretty good for the 55.
Yeah, good recovery so far from the 55 of Bentley. Trying to get up to Dyer now, and he has DeWeese and Shane Wolf if he's trying to get back up to at least that 6th position. I think Crampton might be a little too far out ahead for him to catch before the end of this race, but you never know. A track like Sonoma, a driver can go off track, get into the tires. We've already seen it happen here today a couple of times.
Continue to watch this battle for the 3rd position. Mentioned that Richard Malagani had lost a lap after we went back green on the restart. He has now come down pit road where he currently sits, 5 laps down, and another driver ran into a problem apparently. Patrick Stein, about 4 laps ago, pulled down pit lane and made the hard left-hand turn to the garage area. So right now we are left with 14 trucks still out there on the racetrack, all 14 currently on the lead lap, as Christopher Hill, he can close up to Will Cooley, but as soon as he gets to his back bumper, I don't know if it's Will Cooley finds a little bit of something extra to pull away, or if Hill makes a slight mistake. That time the mistake was on the part of Cooley. Very wide through turn 11, and Hill could not capitalize.
I think this lap might be Hill's best opportunity to maybe get past the 00. I think this is the closest he's been coming in the uphill portion. And this is where Cooley's been a little slower than a lot of the drivers.
Saw Christopher Hill step out there again. It really seems like turn 1, that right-hander, the uphill turn 1, that's where I've seen a lot of drivers especially really fishtailing.
That's a very difficult corner. It's a banked corner, and a lot of these setups are not really set up really for banking. So you're driving uphill, and there's a slight banking coming up the hill, and then it immediately flattens out at the top of the hill. It's a very difficult corner.
Braxton DeWeese, he's going to move up a spot here, trying to maneuver by James Shanewolf. He'll complete that pass before they get to the S's on the exit of turn 7. And just moments ago, Tyler Bentley picked up another spot, got around Matt Dyer for the 8th position. So little battles here and there all the way through the field. Have a battle for 3rd, battle for 6th, a battle for 8th. The battle for 3rd, though, continues hot and heavy, and now we're kind of watching the cat and mouse game between the top 2, Boyd Hogan and Andrew Navarro. Last time by, they were a 1/10 of a second difference between the two. This last time by, though, Boyd Hogan was 9/10 of a second faster than Andrew Navarro. So I'm not certain if Hogan is starting to feel the pressure a little bit heavier of Andrew Navarro, or if all of a sudden he has found an approach to some of these corners that's really working out for him. But I mean, in your opinion, Kyle, which would you rather be? Would you rather be the race leader Boyd Hogan and have the pressure of making sure you absolutely hit your marks to keep the 42 at bay, or would you rather be the 42 and kind of be able to use the 96 as a measuring stick, try and figure out where your strengths are and where his weaknesses are in your attempt to reel him in?
Me personally, when I do road courses, I like chasing. I need that rabbit to chase. That's just kind of how I'm better at road courses when I have somebody in front of me. If I'm the race leader, I'll probably be okay. But if I have someone putting that pressure on me within a second and just keeping me on my toes, it's going to be really difficult for me to hang on to that race lead because I'm going to feel that pressure. But Hogan has a lot of confidence anywhere we go, so I feel like he prefers where he's at right now in that 96 machine.
Well, we may not have our camera focused on Andrew Navarro, but I can tell you, especially that lap, he was trying way too hard. How do we know? Well, there was a lot of smoke lingering in the entrance to turn 7, and a little bit of puff of smoke there in turn 11 as well. Hard on the brakes in those two heavy braking zone areas for the 42, and it showed subsequently on the speed charts. Another 0.8 of a second lost that lap, Andrew Navarro to Boyd Hogan.
And the crazy thing is, these last 2 laps, Navarro's actually been the second quickest driver on the racetrack, but he's almost a second slower both laps than Hogan. Hogan's just putting on a phenomenal pace here on this run.
On board with Christopher Hill. Now for Andrew Navarro and Christopher Hill, right now, not looking like they've got anything for Boyd Hogan for this race victory at this point in time, but certainly much better finishes en route for both of these drivers than what they had back at the Circuit of the Americas. And neither one of these drivers finished up inside of the top 15 in that race. And we also have to bear in mind here as well, Christopher Hill wants to at least have Boyd Hogan within striking distance heading into next week at Knoxville. Mentioned that he came into this race the new points leader, 7 points over Boyd Hogan. If Hogan wins this race, he will obviously take the points lead into next week, but Christopher Hill would like to be able to have a shot at taking the points lead back next week. We talked about the fact that
Navarro's off track. Navarro is off track. I don't know what happened there to the 42. Got really slow and went off track to the right. And he'll continue on in the 4th spot now. He's lost those positions to Will Cooley and Christopher Hill.
See if we can show you what happened to the 42. This would have been up in turns 2 and 3. Which looks like it's awfully late getting onto the brakes there. He was going to overdrive the corner anyway, and just looked like he couldn't get that thing wound up. That has seemed to be a big problem for him here these last couple of laps. We've seen the tire smoke lingering when we focused on the battle for 3rd, which is now the battle for 2nd. Just heating up those tires, and especially when you heat up that
He's not coming down pit road.
That's going to be a tough break there for Andrew Navarro. Well, as I said, there's a possibility that when these guys went back green, they were going to have to come down pit road anyway, so this may be a scheduled stop for the 42, just kind of leapfrogging the rest of the drivers in making a scheduled stop, final stop of the day. We'll follow this as he makes his way down pit road.
Looks like Daniel Simmons has just exited the race, unfortunately, in the 46th machine. Not exactly sure what happened to him. Looks like he actually spun coming through the chute and exited the race. Navarro's exited the race now as well.
Oh man, Andrew Navarro's 2nd straight road course race where he was en route for a good finish and is not going to get the result that replicates how good of a truck he had. Mentioned that back in Circuit of the Americas, he had the pole, led the first 2 laps, but he finished in the 19th position, and here today, a truck that easily would have finished up inside of the podium. He's going to be finishing, it looks like, back around the 13th position here today. And you mentioned about Daniel Simmons back in the garage too. That's a tough break for him. Daniel has had a very consistent year, 5th in the overall point standings coming into this one. So I don't know what it is, Kyle. It doesn't matter if it's a short track, a mile and a half, a mile racetrack, a super speedway, or in this case, a road course. These tracks, they always seem to go for those guys that are up there in the point standings.
That's what it seems like. It really makes it really interesting here in the Reaper Speedlab Truck Series, Seth. Having some of these top guys taken out in these races, it just makes you think anything could happen.
We continue to watch the battle, which is now for second between Will Cooley and Christopher Hill. We also just had another pass. This time it was for up inside the top 5. Actually, this is a fun battle to watch. Let's stay with this for a bit. Tyler Bentley, Braxton DeWeese, James Shanewolf. This is 5th back to 7th.
3 drivers under a blanket here. Bentley able to get past both of these drivers, past Shane Wolf not too long ago, and now has passed DeWeese coming here through the chute. Is he able to pull away from the 8? And DeWeese is going to send it. He locks up the tires, gets to the inside of the 55. He's almost going to spin it. Oh, he saves it. Great save from DeWeese, but he's going to lose that spot to Shane Wolf.
And it's one of the toughest areas to get back to the throttle, especially if you're on the driver's right, the shorter area, the inside line, if you will, of that right-hander. Saw that wheel spin from Braxton DeWeese, but to your point, great job by him to be able to gather that thing back up and not make a bad situation worse. He is going to drop back to 7th, but he'll try and recover and reel Shane Wolf back in, potentially for a battle for 6th. As you saw there, a 4-wheel slide by Tyler Bentley. He's using that thing up in his attempt to get back up there closer to the podium. Back up now to the 5th position, which is around where he was running before he had his troubles up here in turns 3 and 4.
Oh, Shane Wolf is going through the dirt. It looks like he overshot the first corner. He's going to come on track right in front of Dyer. Dyer's going to get around safely. With Shane Wolf going off track in the number 72, he's going to lose a couple of spots. Falls back to 8th now.
If you look up on the top left, last time by when Boyd Hogan hit the start-finish line, 10 laps to go, we're starting to see the later we get into this race, the closer we get to that checkered flag, drivers asking maybe a little too much of their race trucks, and we're starting to see some mistakes here in the closing stages.
A lot of mistakes here in the second half of the race here at Sonoma Raceway, but I'm just continuing to watch the second place battle. Will Cooley is just doing a phenomenal job of fighting off the pressure from Christopher Hill.
Hill has been able to get to the back bumper of Cooley several times. He just hasn't been able to do anything with him. Obviously, push is going to come to shove the closer we get to the end of this race. Christopher Hill may end up using the bumper a couple of times to maybe get Will Cooley out of the way, but again, he's got to get back up to him to be able to do so. He's fallen back about 2-3 truck lengths since we last saw. I was going to mention as well, this is the first round of the Road Warrior Challenge sponsored by Sharper Racing Graphics. This race and also Road America and Mid-Ohio are the 3 races that encapsulate this Road Warrior Challenge. We will bring you coverage of all 3 of those road course races. June 29th is when the Road America race will take place, and then July 6th, the following week at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. We have to bear in mind, though, that a lot can change between tonight and the next time we see you at Road America. 2 more stops for these guys in between those 2 broadcasted races. Knoxville next week, and then Nashville Super Speedway on June 22nd. So it's going to be really interesting to see what storylines culminate from those 2 races when we eventually get to the road course of Road America.
And personally, Seth, I'm a little hurt. I kind of wish we were doing Knoxville. Knoxville sounds like a pretty fun race for these guys. The dirt the trucks in these dirt are they're insane. I expect that to be a pretty crazy race at Nashville Super Speedway. Of course, all about saving tires.
We'll certainly be taking a lot of notes from that race of who performed well and who didn't, especially with the fact that it could have some implications later on this season in the playoffs. We will be bringing you the Bristol Dirt race during the playoffs, so obviously we'll have some notes to be able to go off of for that one. This battle for second, though, might be the best battle to the checkered flag. It's going on over 12 seconds behind Boyd Hogan, who continues to put on a road course clinic here this season, but Will Cooley just cannot shake Christopher Hill.
Yeah, this has just been phenomenal, these two. These two have been within a half a second for probably around 10, almost 15 laps at this point. The 00 and the 99 of Cooley and Hill. Hill's faster at certain portions of the racetrack, but just hasn't been able to complete the pass. Hasn't even really been able to get next to the 00.
Battle for 7th goes wrong for Matt Dyer. We saw there the tail end of his spin over in turn 7. Dyer did not lose any positions after that spin, still rides in the 8th position currently. He has been closed up on, though, by Wesley Jeanette, so that could be a battle in just a few moments as Will Cooley continues to slide the back end of that race car, trying to get back to the throttle, trying to gap himself from Christopher Hill. Christopher Hill right now, his truck looks pretty steady. He's been able to get that truck pointed off the corner. Haven't seen a lot of wheel spin on exit out of him, so if it comes down to who's got the most tire rubber and the most grip at the end of this one, I think the advantage might go to the 99. The problem for him, though, is Will Cooley has the track position. He's got the optimal line, whichever lane he wants to run heading into these corners, forcing Christopher Hill to do something different.
If Hill's going to make this pass, he's going to have to make it quick, I'm feeling like, too, because like you said, this is a tight racetrack in certain portions of the racetrack, and these two drivers seem pretty evenly matched. So if the 99 wants to get past that 00, he's going to have to make that pass quick and try to get away from the 00 immediately, because one little slip up and Cooley's going to get right back past him.
Tanner Love had a great run last week at Gateway. Finished on the podium in the 3rd position. Struggles here today at the road course of Sonoma, though. He was battling there for a moment with Wesley Jeanette for 9th, but not able to complete that pass. Braxton DeWeese has since gotten around James Shanewolf, so good job by him after that spin to recover, get right back up to the bumper of the 72, and move DeWeese now up to the 6th spot.
Braxton DeWeese right now running in that 6th spot, but Shane Wolf's catching up to him. I wouldn't be surprised if Shane Wolf gets back up to him after his spin a little bit earlier on in the race.
Pressure has been reapplied for P2. Christopher Hill all over the rear decklet of the 00 down here to turn 11. This next time by, they will be at 5 laps to go. There you see it just hit 5 to go with Boyd Hogan hitting the start-finish line. 15 seconds over this 2nd place battle. The likelihood of a full course yellow coming out slim to none. So right now, the only person that can deny Boyd Hogan this checkered flag, I feel, is Boyd Hogan. And so far, he hasn't put a wheel wrong.
Only Boyd Hogan can beat himself at this point, the driver of the number 96 machine. You mentioned it, 15 seconds ahead of this 2nd place battle of Cooley and Hill. A very impressive performance from that number 96 machine. Not nearly as much fall off on his tires as well as these other drivers.
Boyd Hogan trying to go 2 for 2 in road course starts this season, and certainly going to be a tall task for somebody to wrestle away the championship for the Road Warrior Challenge when we eventually get to Road America in Mid-Ohio. But every road course on the schedule brings about its own type of characteristics. There are no 2 road courses alike, so we'll see if anybody steps up to the plate to try and challenge the 96 in the next couple of weeks as, again, Will Cooley turns back the challenge of Christopher Hill. The gap opens up between the two again. It's kind of like a rubber band, kind of like a yo-yo. It stretches out, and then it comes back together, then it stretches out. Christopher Hill at some point is going to have to kind of up the aggressiveness just a little bit, I think. I think he's going to have to start using the bumper to get Will Cooley out of the way because he's not been able yet to find a lane to drivers left or drivers right. And I know for certain that Christopher Hill knows the situation with Boyd Hogan leading this race. He wants to get every available point possible to make it as slim a points gap Boyd Hogan will carry into Knoxville next week as possible.
Christopher Hill really working that car. He got a little sideways coming out of that last corner, the driver of the number 99 machine. He is working hard to get back to the 00 of Cooley, who was able to put a little bit of distance between himself and Hill that last time by.
little ironic if you look at this battle that's been going on for the last 20 laps or so between Cooley and Hill. Polar opposites from their finishes last week. Christopher Hill was in victory lane. Will Cooley was the driver that brought it home shotgun on the field in the 20th position. And both of these two now find themselves in the same place at the same time with now 3 laps to go when they come around to the stripe, the runner-up position on the line. Look at some other battles going on the racetrack. We might have one here in the closing stages for 6th. James Shanewolf continues to keep Braxton DeWeese honest. About 3 truck lengths between those two.
Yeah, Shanewolf was caught up to DeWeese the last few laps, and he's a couple of truck lengths back right now with the number 8 machine, trying to get up there and maybe make a move and get himself into that 6th position. We'll have to see if he's able to get up there in the closing laps.
Battle for 6th going on behind 5th place Tyler Bentley. Great recovery for him after that early spin off of turn 2 at the beginning of our 2nd and final stage. And TJ Crampton right now holding down that 4th position. We haven't talked about him much here in the 2nd stage. He's just kind of been in his own little world, holding down that spot inside of the top 5, but right now en route for back-to-back 4th place finishes in the first 2 road course starts on the season.
Crampton's ran a very good race, a very quiet race from that 61 machine, but I think that's good for a road course, to keep quiet and just keep it safe and keep it on track, and that's what he's done all race long, currently running in that 4th spot, and if he continues to do what he's done all race, he will finish in that 4th position. But one little note that I'm watching right here, looks like Hogan's about to catch up to Shin, then he has Jennett right in front of him. Do these drivers get out of the way of the 96 here, or do they maybe hold him up a little bit?
There's the answer there for the 73 of Robert Shin. He takes turn 4 wide. It's out of the way of Boyd Hogan. Next truck, as you mentioned, Wesley Jeanette. I don't know if he'll catch him here before he gets to the checkered flag. Next time by, it will be the white flag displayed. And oh, something has happened just moments ago to Christopher Hill. What was about 0.2 of a second between him and Will Cooley has opened up now to over a second. So it must have been a bit of a slip up there somewhere between turns 1 and 3.
And the number 99 machine has just been working his car a little too hard the last couple of laps and has lost a decent amount of time to that 00. Around a second back right now of Will Cooley, coming to the white flag this time by.
Boyd Hogan going to cross the start-finish line, flagman with the white flag in hand. Last week we saw Christopher Hill pick up his 3rd win on the season at Gateway. That tied Boyd Hogan for most wins on the season. That put Boyd Hogan out of the points lead for the first time in the last 8-9 weeks. Well, Boyd Hogan certainly must have been licking his chops when he saw a road course was the next stop on the schedule here today at Sonoma. He has put on a clinic. He has led the most laps, all but 1 lap here today. That other lap was led by Will Cooley. He won the stage, and he's en route for max points here today and to take that points lead back. Also put himself lone at the top for most wins on the season with 4. He's just got the last couple of corners through the S's and that paperclip turn 11 to maneuver.
Yeah, if you take away the 1 lost spot on pit road for that number 96 machine, it's been a perfect day for Hogan, and it's a well-deserved victory for Boyd Hogan as he's going to come through the hairpin and take the checkered flag this time by.
First step potentially towards being the Road Warrior Challenge champion. The first round and the victory here today at Napa Valley in Sonoma will go to Boyd Hogan. A dominating clinic here today on the West Coast, and Boyd Hogan continues to rack up those playoff points, heading closer and closer to the end of the regular season.
Looks like Cooley's going to get 2nd, Hill's going to get 3rd, but we have a battle for 6th still going on here. Shanewolf almost got into the back of DeWeese right before we got into the S's, locked up the tires. Does he have a shot still at Braxton DeWeese for this 6th position?
Only about 2.5 truck lengths between those two. That might be close enough to try and make a move into turn 11. We'll follow this all the way down to the final corner. DeWeese takes the defensive inside line. Shanewolf says, all right, I'll take the long way around. Might cross him over. He's going to make it stick. Deweese gets loose. He almost hits the wall, and Shane Wolf's going to get the spot. He'll get P6.
What a move from the 72 of Shane Wolf. Went to the high side, crossed over, a little bit of contact with Deweese coming off the corner. Shane Wolf gets the 6th position. Good finish from him. Braxton Deweese unfortunately losing a spot there in the last corner. A strong run nonetheless from the number 8 machine finishing 7th.
16 trucks started this race. 11 will finish it, 10 of them on the lead lap. And Boyd Hogan, aside from being back a couple of trucks from the race lead there on that restart, the beginning of stage 2, he's really not had to battle much of anybody today, as he's going to come around here and, yeah, why not? Race is over. Take the shortcut through the infield there of turn 11 and get over to the start-finish line sooner. Begin celebrating here on the front straightaway at Sonoma. 4th time he gets to burn it down here this season, and he will be taking the points lead into Knoxville next week.
Hogan so far has won the first 2 road course races of the season, getting this win here at Sonoma in dominating fashion here for Legacy Esports. 4th win of the season. You mentioned it, Seth, and we'll see if he can continue this heading into the next 2 road courses in the Road Warrior Challenge.
Gave you your top 3. Here's a look at the top 10. Crampton 4th, Bentley with the comeback run in 5th. Saw that battle for 6th coming to the start-finish line. Shane Wolf over Braxton Deweese. Tanner Love going to bring it home in the 8th position. Matt Dyer and Wesley Jeanette. That's going to complete the top 10. The 73 of Robert Shin is going to be the last driver to finish this race, as he'll bring it home in the 11th spot, and the rest of these drivers finished back in the garage area. Robert Anderson will finish in 12th. Andrew Navarro will finish back in 13th. Daniel Simmons, Patrick Stein, and Richard Malogani in 15th and 16th. I believe that Malogani and Stein were the highest 2 in points behind the cut line, and with them finishing back in 15th and 16th, I think it's pretty safe to say nothing's going to change in terms of the top 10 above the cut line coming into tonight as opposed to leaving here tonight. Obviously, the point situation, the cushion for a number of drivers, I think, is going to change. Deweese, Crampton, Hogan, Hill, Love, I think they're going to be able to increase the gap between themselves and that cut line here today.
We're definitely not going to see any changes for the points, but some drivers able to get some valuable points out there. Not any drivers getting into the top 10, but you mentioned a couple drivers able to get some valuable points, and some drivers even able to extend that gap to the cut line. A driver like Braxton Deweese, who was down near that cut line, able to get some points out there tonight.
The first round of the road course challenge is going to go to Boyd Hogan here tonight as he continues to celebrate. We'll be talking with him in victory lane in just a moment, but let's see if we can talk with some of our other podium finishers here this evening as well. And let's kick things off with a guy who won last week and brings it home P3 here tonight at Sonoma, Christopher Hill. Hey Chris, it's Kyle and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
I got you.
Man, I'll tell you what, it was a lot of fun watching you guys out there in these trucks here tonight, slipping and sliding around, just begging your trucks for grip. Obviously, maybe not as fun as a race car driver out there. Definitely had to work for that 3rd place finish here tonight, but the battle between you and Will Cooley there for 2nd place, that was the battle to watch here in this 2nd and final stage. You were the hunter, got to him a couple of times there, just couldn't seem to get around him. What was it, the little bit of extra that you needed to be able to eventually put him in your rearview mirror?
Well, I tried going a different direction on pit road with pit road adjustments, just to try and learn something, and well, I guess the wrong way. So I gained a lot of roll speed. When he wasn't in front of me, I could roll a lot of lap time and roll the corners with a decent amount of speed. I didn't have drive because of those adjustments, so it was really hard to set up a pass or complete a pass. So I guess next time I just got to remember not to do what I did on pit road tonight.
We saw that in the first road course race of the season at Circuit of the Americas, things not quite going the way that you wanted them to. Obviously, a little bit of redemption here today, but a little bit more pressure put on you guys here for these road courses with the announcement that we had here, the Road Warrior Challenge for here tonight. Of course, Road America and Mid Ohio in the upcoming few weeks. I mean, does that change your approach to these road course races, knowing that there's a little bit of something extra on the line, or does the approach stay the same?
Um, Still the same. I mean, the general idea is to just to learn and get better. I think I knew where I was about on pace, that I could, at worst, I was going to come away with third or fourth from this one. I felt like no matter what I did in pit road, so I felt like I could be a little more, willy nilly with what I was doing on pit road, just to try and get better for the next two. So coming away with third, I mean, I'm in a position to, you know, have a chance at the Road Warrior Challenge the next 2 weeks. So did good tonight. Third place. It's a good for the average finish side of it, and we learned a lot. So we'll have more set in stone what we're doing the next two road courses, instead of having to just guess and try something.
Well, some great momentum for you in the last couple of weeks. Of course, the third win of the season last week at Gateway, podium finish here tonight, but go to the dirt track of Knoxville next week. So, what's the confidence level there?
um, well, I mean, as you can see by my road I rating, I'm not a road guy. So I mean, but I ran good, so I mean, it's confidence boosting for the same thing I am on dirt. I'm not high I rating, don't race it a lot, but I mean, just got to test a lot. I mean, my teammates keep trying to get me to race dirt. They tell me every time I show up I'm decent. So I mean, I'm sure we'll just take a little bit more testing than the usual oval week, but we'll make sure we're up to snuff for next week.
A great truck here today, bringing it home third place. Congratulations on the great performance, Chris. And before we let you go, we'll give the opportunity for some thank you sponsors and shoutouts.
I got to thank Kevin Kirchar, Blackstone Management, everything they do for Legacy Esports. Thank you to everybody on Legacy Esports for putting work in on the setup, turning laps. Thanks to Jacob for and Shorebird Racing Graphics for setting up this little road challenge we got going on, and thanks to you all for putting on the broadcast.
That's Christopher Hill. He brings the 99 home P3 here this evening at Sonoma Raceway. Congratulations once again. Best of luck next week at Knoxville, and looking forward to seeing if we get to talk to you again when we have our next broadcast, the next road course at Road America.
Thank you.
All right, let's see if we can go down and talk to our runner-up finisher here tonight. Will Cooley, it's Kyle and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yep, sure do.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, heck of a drive for you here today. I think you get the award for best defensive driver because you had a couple of challenges there, really tough challenges from Christopher Hill down the closing stages. But strong car or strong truck, I should say, overall here tonight. I mean, what did you need though to be able to stay on the same planet as the 96? Because we saw the pit road strategy worked out for you.
I think I needed nitrous or DRS or something along those lines to keep up with Boyd. I don't know if being the best defensive driver is a good thing or a bad thing. I could kind of go both ways, but just struggled a little bit. Rear end wasn't very happy, like loading up or unloading. Uh, First part of the course, I thought we were pretty good. I mean, up the hill and 4 and 5 were okay, and then a couple of those braking zones, which I normally like them, and I want to be really aggressive with them. I feel like braking's one of my few strengths at these types of tracks. It was just so timid with the rear end. I just had to baby it in there and down the hill from what I call it turn six, the kind of hairpin before the S's. We were just kind of bad out of there, and that really messed up the whole S's, which is half the track, which is kind of unfortunate. But we're good in like all the corners leading up to braking zones, which kind of helped me fend Chris off. But that was a really fun battle with him. I thought he was going to have me a couple times. I would spin the tires, and I'd look up, and sometimes he'd spin them too, and I'd kind of think, man, I got away with one there. Boyd, we had absolutely nothing for. I told him I needed him to do like a Jerry Nadeau or something, whoever that was back in the day in the old Dolphins car who went up the hill here and just totally missed the corner. That was probably my only shot at getting him tonight.
You were talking about, having some handling problems with the truck. Obviously, we know usually with road courses. Very unlikely that we end up seeing full course yellows unless there's something super catastrophic that takes place. So not a lot of room for error. You guys knew you had that stage caution coming up though. So I mean, how much did you throw at this truck in terms of adjustments, or was it basically just trying to make adjustments in terms of how you approach the corners for the second half?
Well, I didn't really get as much practice as I would normally have for some of these. Like I did a C Open Monday night, I think, and like I was okay for what I had put into it, but I knew I really didn't have it, and so kind of took a swing, tried a couple different things before the race, and I found a lot of things that didn't work, and kind of went the other way. Of all things, I found a pretty good shock package, which I can normally never do, and I thought I was pretty good over the curbs and whatnot, but tried a couple things, knowing that we had that caution and that I could maybe try to fix it if we weren't so good. The biggest thing was just adding tape. I was nowhere near taped up enough for that first stint, and I was kind of hoping that would be the secret sauce, and I'd somehow find like a second or whatever I needed there to keep up with Boyd, but just not quite enough. Just got to find a little bit more here in the setup for some of these, and driver needs to be a good bit better here too.
Well, I mean, the good news, only the first round of the Road Warrior Challenge here tonight. Got another couple of shots coming up in the next few weeks at Road America and the following week at Mid Ohio. So, I mean, obviously, got to give you some confidence here tonight with the performance heading in those two races.
Oh yeah, and I haven't run those tracks quite as much as here, but when I have run them, I've had a lot of fun with them. They're pretty cool courses, some cool braking zones, cool features, elevation changes. So I'm really looking forward to the Road Warrior Challenge, and hopefully our SimSeats truck gets a little bit better. But I mean, heck, if we finish second at all of them, I guess that's not too bad.
Absolutely not. Well, Will, congratulations on the great performance here tonight. Kept that truck up inside of the podium, pretty much the top two, the entirety of this race. Bring it home with a great run of second place. And before we let you go, give it the opportunity to thank some sponsors and do some shout outs.
Yeah. First off, thank you to you guys for taking your time and broadcasting this and putting on the great show that you guys do. We all really appreciate that. Uh, really wanted to give a huge shout out and thank you to SimSeats. Everybody go to simseats.com, check out their stuff, buy their stuff, tweet at them, like them, all that good stuff. Really feel bad that we couldn't get those guys into the round two for Road to Pro. It's 2 years in a row. We've just had really, really unfortunate luck, and I thought we performed really well, well enough to go into pro, let alone round two. So I hate it for Sim Seats that we can't get them a little more airtime over there. But big thank you to them, MPI as well, and Sparko. All those guys are really, really good to us, and appreciate all the guys back at Lockdown Racing as well.
That's Will Cooley. He's your runner up finisher here tonight at Sonoma. Congratulations once again, and best of luck the next time that we see you on another road course in about 3 weeks' time at Road America.
Sounds good. Thank you guys.
Let's go down to victory lane. Fourth win on the season for Boyd Hogan. Boyd, it's Kyle and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Man, I'll tell you what. We had you on our radar as really the guy to beat, it seemed, especially with the performance you had in the first road course race of the season at Circuit of the Americas. But here tonight, a dominating performance. You lost the race lead for one lap, I believe, and led every other single lap from start to finish. You finished this race almost 18 seconds over the next battle. I mean, obviously, it looked like a walk in the park up here, but was that the case inside the cockpit of that Toyota?
No, definitely not. I got kind of pinned there behind Will, for a little while. I think it's probably two, three, maybe four laps, but it's so hard to pass when you get right up behind somebody. So it's like you got to take whatever opportunity they give you. So took that opportunity to get around them in turn five or whatever. That had to have looked terrible. Like that had to have been some Juan Montoya stuff to watch, but. That was it was a wild race at that time, and then the rest of the way it's a little bit still getting to know the place for me, and honestly the setup carried the hell out of me today. Randall Falks is a badass. Like I don't think I'd have been even competitive 3 hours ago, and that was everything I needed right there. So thank you to Randall, thank you to Vicente Salas for showing me how to drive this place, and Chris Pfeffer a little bit. Chris Hill for all the help on setups, and yeah, that was a good time though.
We've seen the last couple of weeks. You had a pretty big points gap over second place, and little by little, week after week, it's been eaten into. Today was the first time in several weeks that we saw you coming into this race not as the points leader. Was kind of the gauntlet thrown down last week by Christopher Hill, and you said, well, we got a road course coming up next week. I'm going to circle that on my calendar and use that as my opportunity to take this points lead back.
Um, nah. I mean, Chris is always throwing the gauntlet down, I'm sure, but yeah. I mean, we always got good battles going on, so it's gonna be like that all year, and it's gonna be like that all the way up to the last race. So that's nothing new for us. But yeah, it's really just we're at the midway part of the year, and there's a lot of different things we can try as a team and as a group, and we've kind of we're experimenting a little bit out here, especially we got Mid Ohio here in about a month, and we got Sonoma this week. So you're kind of taking every opportunity you can to learn, and sometimes you got to sacrifice results to do so.
Of course, we know as well, this being the first leg of the Road Warrior Challenge. As you mentioned, we've got Mid Ohio coming up, but we've got just before that as well, Road America. So obviously, check off Sonoma on the list there. You've got a victory for that one to start off this Road Warrior Challenge. I mean, thought process heading into Road America in about 3 weeks' time to try and continue on this domination and eventually get that $50 grand prize.
Well, we're gonna have to step it up at Road America. I'll tell you, I'm terrible there. So that's gonna be step one. And then step two, I got to thank Jacob Shorba for I mean everything he's done for the league for the last couple of years here, and obviously for putting up the reward for the Road Warrior Challenge and Shorba's eye paints. And so that's pretty cool. It's always good to see a little bit of help coming to the road races. Get some more people out, and we'll go to Road America and give it our shot. But Fepper and Casey Tucker, they're gonna be good, and Chris is always good whenever he tries on road. So I mean, hell, he came in here with basically no practice, and what did he do? Finish third? Would have been second. Yeah, yeah. He'd be, he'll be there too.
Well, boy, had a great run for you here today. A dominating performance. Congratulations on a job well done. And you've been in victory lane before when we've been broadcasting these races. You know the drill. We're handing the mic over to you now for some victory lane. Thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Yeah, man. Thank you to you guys obviously for putting on the show. Kevin Kirchar, Blackstone Management, Green Mountain Grills, Curb Records, Allegiant, Champion, Reaper Speedlab, Cincinnati. Everybody who's part of the deal over with Legacy. Everybody helping out on cars and testing and stuff. Takes a lot of people to be competitive every week. And I mean, you guys get to see a couple hours of it every week, which is that's the result. That's the end result. But there's a lot going into it. So thank you to everybody who's helping out behind the scenes.
Well, Boyd Hogan gets his second road course win on the season, his fourth win overall this year. He takes the checkered flag here tonight at Sonoma. Congratulations once again, Boyd. Best of luck next week at Knoxville, and obviously best of luck on the continuation of this Road Warrior Challenge the next time that we see you at Road America.
Sounds good, man.
So as Boyd Hogan continues his celebration down in victory lane, Kyle, some closing thoughts here, obviously from our first broadcasted road course race here today. I definitely think we've got some interesting storylines heading into the second and final leg of this Road Warrior Challenge.
Definitely a very good race, an amazing performance from Boyd Hogan, and a good battle between Cooley, Hill, and Navarro at points in this race. A good run from Crampton amongst others. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to Road America. I really enjoy that racetrack. It puts on good racing. I'm very interested in that race, and I'm even more interested in Mid Ohio because me personally, I've never even put a lap down at Mid Ohio. So I'm interested to see how these drivers race around that racetrack.
It was interesting when we were talking there with Boyd Hogan. A couple of names he threw out there that could also be competitors for that victory when we get to Road America. Casey Tucker, we didn't see him in the field here tonight, and Christopher Pfeffer, we didn't see him throw in, Will Cooley, Christopher Hill, TJ Crampton, Tyler Bentley. If these guys all come back at Road America as well, I mean, we could end up having a half dozen drivers that are in the hunt for that checkered flag. Should be a good one, no doubt. The points have been updated, and it looks like heading into Knoxville next week, Boyd Hogan does take the points lead by only 4 points over Christopher Hill. So those Legacy Esports teammates, they're going to continue to duke it out for that overall points lead, which, oh, by the way, why is that important? Well, it gives you some bonus points for being the regular season champion heading into the reformatted playoff standings. So that it kind of looks like that battle is going to continue to be hot and heavy down this home stretch of the regular season.
Yeah, Hogan and Hill just continue to go back and forth for that points lead. One gets a win, then the other one gets a win. It's just been a fantastic battle. It reminds me of the Cup Series a couple of years ago, Denny Hamlin versus Kevin Harvick, just going back and forth with wins and fantastic performances. I think this is going to be a battle up until we get to that last race before the playoffs.
And it is drawing close. There's only about 8 races, I believe, after tonight, until we end up finding out who those 10 drivers will be that will battle for the championship here in the playoffs for the Reaper Speedlab Truck Series. Again, thank you to everybody that tuned in here tonight. Our coverage from the Sonoma Raceway. These drivers will be at Knoxville and Nashville the next 2 weeks. The next time you will see us, it will be for the second stint of the Road Warrior Challenge. On June 29th, we'll bring you coverage from Road America. The following week is the final stint of the Road Warrior Challenge at Mid-Ohio. But until then, once again, thank you all for tuning in tonight. Boyd Hogan is your winner from Sonoma. And Kyle, appreciate you joining me once again in the booth here this evening.
Thank you for having me, Seth. And it was a great race, great performance from Boyd Hogan, and looking forward to Road America.
Once again, thanks to everybody for tuning in this evening. We'll see you in about 3 weeks' time here for the continuation of the season for the MSRA Reaper Speedlab Truck Series. Congratulations once again to Boyd Hogan. For Kyle Lawrence, I'm Seth Cole. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night, folks, as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.